Hey, welcome to Collab2Reach Conversations. Thank you for tuning in. It's so good to have you guys joining in. For all of you guys, people are streaming right now, and we just want to say welcome. We're about to start in about a couple of minutes, so we're just going to give a couple of minutes for the rest of them to tune in and to join in, and then we'll start the conversation soon as well. But while you're here, why don't you say hi in the comments in the comment section below, whether it's on Instagram, on YouTube, or in Facebook. Just drop a comment, say hi to us. Let us know where you're from. If you're cool, let us know if what church you're from as well, so we know and we can say hi to you. So this is just a great time for us to interact with one another and have a virtual community, since we are not meeting in a physical way as well. So please drop a note in the comments. We see some of you guys. Hey Jonathan, nice to see you.
Yeah.
Caleb, nice to see you as well. Good morning to you.
Hey, hi John.
Hi John.
Yeah, so we're going to start in a couple of minutes, a minute or so more, and then we're just going to have this conversation, and we're going to talk about all things youth ministry. We're going to talk about where we are currently as a youth ministry and where the youth ministry has to hit as well. And we've got exciting conversations here, a lot of experience from the ground and people who are deep in it and working at it as well. So just give it a couple more seconds and we're going to start soon as well. It's cool. Hello to all the 59 people tuning in, and good morning. Thank you for waking up early. I hope you had your coffee. Yeah, it was an early morning for us as well. So, but we're all coffeeed up and we're good to go because we are youth ministry people. Yes. Hey Dion, good morning. Good to see you.
Oh, there's more. Keep going.
Felicia.
Hi, Felicia.
Hi Felicia. Hello from Sarawak.
Wow.
Wow.
Hi.
Oh, Gabriel. I'm excited that you're tuned into Tina. Good to have you with us. All right, we're just going to start, and you're having your morning coffee. Enjoy your coffee, Jia Xian. We're going to start. Let me introduce you. Welcome to Collab2Reach Conversations. This is the first one of the year, and I think there's going to be many more conversations throughout the rest of the year. And we just want to welcome you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us, joining this virtual community as well. My name is Hern Shung. Let me just introduce myself. I'll be hosting and facilitating this conversation. And I'm from Trinity Methodist Church. I'm involved with youth ministry and been involved in youth ministry for the past 10 years as well. And I've got some friends here with us, and these guys are friends who have known for many years, and I think it's going to be such an interesting conversation. So let me introduce you one by one. This is Pastor Raymond. Pastor Raymond is. Say hi.
Hi.
I don't know which camera it is. Okay,
Probably that one.
But Pastor Raymond is a senior pastor pastor in charge of Faith Methodist Church. And he's an incredible preacher, incredible pastor. I've known him for quite a few years in the Methodist Church, and he also used to lead the youth ministry as a pastor, and was a director of youth ministries in the Methodist Church as well. So much experience with this guy as well. And next to me, I got Pastor Joel. Pastor Joel, say hi.
Hi.
Pastor Joel from Victory Family Center. He leads a crazy good youth ministry that meets in 3 different locations from Victory Family Center. They're called The Edge. And Pastor Joel also is involved with, he does this thing called Elevate, where he trains youth pastors. Oh, sorry, that one. Where he trains youth pastors, and he trains youth pastors and does workshops for youth pastors and does this great platform as well where you can grow as well. So Pastor Joel, and on my left I have Isaac.
Yeah.
Say hi.
I say hi already.
Okay. Isaac is campus director of Emmanuel Assembly of God. And he leads a campus group there that's really thriving, is going well. Isaac's also the face of this movement called FOPX, Festival of Praise X, and Isaac leads it for the past 5 years, and they do conferences, and they bring youth ministries together for conference and worship nights as well. So Isaac, he carries much experience. I think what's exciting about this is that all of us here, in some ways or another, we are very active in the youth ministry. We're hands deep. You can find us most of the time at cafes with young people, chit-chatting with young people as well. So I think it's going to be an interesting conversation as well. So we're going to get started. Before we begin, if you have any questions along the way, if you have any comments to make along the way, please please write it in any of the comments below. We have a team that is behind camera right now who are smiling at us, and they are writing the comments down, taking any questions that they'll pass to us as well, and we're going to try to answer some of them at the end of this conversation and include them in the conversation as well. And so we're going to start with this first question. I want to ask all of us here. Let's start off easy, right? Oh no, let's just go straight into it, right? Let's talk about where we are right now as youth ministries. What do you think? What's your current assessment of youth ministries? The current assessment of the state of youth ministries? Like, how has it changed since you first started, and how has it evolved since you first began there? Maybe we can start with the old guy. Older guy, sorry, Reverend Raymond Fong.
No. I think youth ministry is doing great, actually. Yeah, to be honest, I think it's doing great work. I think youth ministries are still hitting the fundamentals. To me, the fundamentals are three key questions. Who am I? It's a question of identity. How do I fit in? It's a question of community. Then what's my purpose? It's a question of purpose. What do I do with my life on earth? I think most ministries are still doing that, still covering these three key areas. And so that's great. So keep doing those things.
Yeah.
What has changed is really the landscape in terms of the competing demands on the time of the youth.
Yeah.
That has really changed. Yeah. My time to now, in those days, we had so much time for church, really. And we really wanted to spend time in church. And we really want to know about God's word. We wanted to grow in the ways of the Lord. But today, the youth is, really busy. There's lots of competing demands on time from studies, and social media takes up a lot of time. There's recently TikTok has taken a lot of time as well for most people.
Are you on TikTok?
John commented on. So, stuff like that. And the youth just feels very drawn. And what happens is that church, or God for the matter, becomes one of the many compartments. And I think youth ministry needs to take note of that and be changing to handle that competing demand.
Yeah.
And we have to be creative, yet at the same time cover the fundamentals. Yeah, and help a youth grow and be discipled.
Yeah.
Okay, just quick one.
Well, I think it's an exciting time to be doing youth ministry. I think now more than ever before, there's so much opportunity available to us. There's so many avenues, so much resource. Everyone's so connected. There's a bigger opportunity more than ever before to reach young people more than ever before. But I mean, at the same time, like Pastor Raymond was saying, it comes with its challenges. I mean, with the world that's so connected, with so much info, with so many competing demands for time, attention, and all these different things. There's a different kind of challenge that you're facing. And I think one of the things that you said, which I feel so true, is that as youth ministries, it's so vital that we're doing okay, we're doing great, but I do believe that we can't just be happy with like, hey, we're doing okay now.
Yeah.
We've got to constantly be thinking like, hey, what's next?
That's
What's coming up next? How can we change? How can we adapt to do better to reach a generation that is constantly changing?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'd say.
Yeah. How about you?
I just feel like I think the past of youth ministry has done really, really great. I think for the many of us that are here, it's a testament of what senior pastors have done, youth pastors have done, raised up a really, really good and strong generation. But I also think we're at a pivotal point right now where things are changing so fast. But I think that the people in the past has prepared the current youth pastors and generations to be ready to be able to take this on right now. So how do we as a new generation, a new breed of ministers, leaders, marketplace people take responsibility of this current turning tide and this pivotal point? And I think it'll be really exciting to see. So
And I want to pick up on that, like, how you say it, everything's changing. I'm sure it's changed so much since you first started as well. And even I started officially full-time 6 years ago, and even then it's changed so much as well. And just talking more about that, what do you think are currently the critical needs of youth ministry? Now that it's changing, what do you think are some of the critical needs that we need, the youth ministries has to evolve as well? And I think we did a survey, Crew did a survey last week. And they did a survey where they got about 50 to 60 responses from different youth pastors, youth directors, and youth leaders. And one of the biggest needs that everyone talked about, the critical needs, is the topic of discipleship. And I think that's a big topic on all of your hearts who are tuning in right now. And so we want to maybe spend a bit of time on that to talk about what do you think are some how do you think discipleship has evolved today, especially now that you've given your assessment of how it's changing and more distracted. How do you think discipleship looks today in youth ministry, or needs to change to look today? Anyone?
Go.
Joel?
I think in some ways it's still the same in some ways, that like, you can't run away from discipleship being something that requires like personal involvement, personal investment. It's got to be something that, hey, I'm personally involved in your life, I'm invested in your life. There has to be a personal touch. As much as you can, structure things and you can have systems and processes in place to make sure that you don't miss people out, you don't drop people, you don't, forget about someone. The reality is, at the end of the day, discipleship is still very much a personal thing. There has to be a relationship involved. There has to be personal involvement.
Definitely.
But yet, at the same time, I think we've got to be careful where discipleship is not just me telling you what to do, or trying to teach something to you. Discipleship has to be something where it's like, hey, come do it with me.
Yeah.
Let me show you how to live life. So I might even be, I'm like not super old, but I'm not super young either. I mean, when I walk up to 13-year-old, I have no idea what you're saying, guys. Like, I feel it. But yet at the same time, as leaders, we're called to demonstrate and show someone what your life looks like when you're on fire for God. And I think that's something that we constantly have to be thinking about and trying to figure out like how we can model that, and because when we're looking for examples and leaders, you're looking for someone that I can point to a young person and go, hey, if you just do that, if you just live your life this way, that you're going to be okay. But then at the same time, I think maybe the type of conversations or the way that we carry across information, maybe that's changed. Because maybe in the past, it would have been enough for, okay, I'll sit down with Pastor Raymond, he just tells me, hey, the Bible says this. Okay, I go and do. But now I think there's a place, especially in this generation, they call it, you say Gen Z, right? 2015 and younger, well, or older, sorry, where they want to have the conversations, they want to have the dialogue, they want to have the discussions. They're not afraid of gunning for like, hey, let's have that hard conversation. Why? Okay, you're saying this is wrong, you're saying this isn't. Why? Show me where the Bible says, and show me how does this impact my life. They want to have the honest and open dialogue. They're not afraid of it. And on the flip side, we need to not be afraid of it as well.
Absolutely.
We need to not be afraid of having those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think even if the youth says, I don't really agree with you, you can tell me why, but I don't agree. And it's perfectly okay for you not to agree, and then to be prepared to journey with my disagreement.
Absolutely.
I think discipleship will always be a fundamental of youth ministry. We never run away from that. But I think in the times that we're in, I think we need role models more than ever before. And can I just say that I think one change that youth ministry has to happen for youth ministries is really the role of the adults coming in to provide their role modeling.
Totally.
I think youth ministry cannot just be done by youths. You really need a generation of young adults, older young adults and adults to come in to provide a role modeling. And so you need a partnership of the young people and the adults to do youth ministry. So every youth should have like a spiritual brother or sister to look up to role model for me, and yet also a spiritual parent that I can turn to. And that's to complement each other in the youth ministry. So I imagine discipleship will be a lot of moments where modeling takes place, where I show you how it's done, you come along with me, and then and through those relationships, that's how discipleship takes place. So you think about youth ministry today, we have typically a good worship, so we spend a lot of time with programs. We hit a good worship, we do maybe like a good Bible study, and it's a lot of information. But hey guys, they have no lack of information today. Just go on Google, right? Just Google whatever you want. But they want someone to be able to journey with their doubts, their questions, and so that's part of their modeling, and to show them how to live a life of a Christ-centered believer. How do I do my quiet time every day? How do I actually relate to my friends and my parents in an honorable way? You need someone to just come along to actually model that for them.
And I remember reading somewhere as well that, picking up on that, they say the average young person should have at least five touch bases with an adult in the church, an uncle and auntie that they can talk to, or that they're able to actually relate to as well. And that's actually something that we have to work on, I think, in youth ministries as well, the engagement with the wider church.
Definitely.
More than just, I mean, I speak for ourselves, where I think a lot, like for our youth ministry, for the longest time we've been siloed away into a room in a part of the church. And I think the healthiest thing that we did for our youth ministry was to actually open up the doors and have adults joining in. I see the amazing, enriching experiences when generations come together. And you know, I think it's incredible when it happens that way as well. Yeah. And one of the things that, picking up also on what you guys have said, is that I think this generation is the most well-informed generation. They're the most connected. In fact, I think they're the most over-informed. They're getting information from everywhere, you know, all the fake news and stuff. And this generation, for lack of a better word, is also the most, has the most opinions on everything. You know, you give them something about politics and then they suddenly have an opinion on what politics should be, everything. I'm just like, bro, you're 13 years old, right? You know, when I was 13, I was like, you know, just tell me about, I don't know, talk to me about pop stars and K-pop and okay, I don't know.
Maybe just you.
Maybe just you. Yeah. But you know, I think it's just the way that is nature, the background, the context we have now. And I 100% agree that we cannot factory produce young people in a discipleship model anymore. It's no longer a class that they attend. It's no longer a curriculum that you run through. It's no longer come sit through this 5-step program to be a disciple and you're a good disciple as well. I think exactly what Joel said, like, you know, we need space. We need to let them go on a journey. We need to let them walk this journey, make mistakes, have failures, you know, but let them know that as well that it's okay. And I think also on our end, it's about us modeling it, and not just modeling what Christianity looks like or disciple looks like, but modeling what vulnerability looks like.
Right.
Modeling what authenticity looks like. You know, I think one of the things that I've really benefited from is having mentors who share their struggles with me and share their failures with me. I think that helped me heaps as well. And it's something that even now I try to do it. You know, I share some of my problems with them and say and be open about it, because I think sometimes by me sharing it, it gives them permission to struggle with it as well, and we can actually share in this struggle as well. And I know this is something big on your heart as well. So what do you have to think?
Yeah, so I think kind of what we've been talking about, like, you know, being relatable, being vulnerable and all that. And as you mentioned, I think the word is authenticity. Yeah. I think sometimes we think that just because we see there's a lot of buzz or there's a lot of fireworks, we think we sometimes need to replicate that. And those things are great expressions, but at the end of it, it's authenticity. And this generation, for lack of a better word, is really woke. And so they can snuff you out and they know when you're not being authentic. You can give a really cool, sleek sounding slogan and they go, I'm not going to buy it. But if you're authentic, that's awesome. And I mean, even when we talk about, like, let's say adults coming in and all that, it's easy to try to program it or to roster it. But it will not fly off if the people are not authentic, if you don't walk with the person. You know, and I feel like that's incredibly important. And as you say, to give space for people to learn and make mistakes, I think it's also interesting because in the past, where there is no internet, no social media, everyone was just trying to figure out what youth ministry was. And so we had a lot of room to make mistakes, figure things out, do the craziest things, fall, get injuries, all these different things. But we're now at a place that we are a little bit more polished and refined. And the danger for us to take something that's very polished and refined and not let the younger generation have a play at it, have a way to turn it, have a way to relook at it, is dangerous, because we go like, but we've been through the knee scrapes and we've destroyed this thing and we've broken the building and all that. But it's very hard to get the young people to buy into something that, sure, you have bought in because you've got it for 10 years. But for them, it's only like, what, maybe 10 days or 10 months. So are we able to be also, even in our own set ideas of how things should be run, to go, I'm willing to let it open and go, I think that you might even have a even more creative, better, interesting your input way and explore youth ministry. And I think authenticity really comes down to authenticity.
So these days, sometimes we try to be relevant. But you know, a big survey done in the US concerning youth, 87% of the youth say they don't want relevancy, they want authenticity. They want it to be real. More being real than relevant. Because if you're trying to be relevant, we're trying to compete with what's out in the world, trying to just stay up with times, make it more exciting. But actually the youth really want you to be authentic. They want you to be real. They want you to admit that you don't always have all the answers. And that, and even when I fail, you are prepared to be vulnerable with me and journey with me.
And I mean, 100%, man. I think a lot of times you expect the fruit without, maybe this is just me, but I expect them to have a certain fruit, but without them going through the journey that we've been through as well. So sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing stupid stuff? But then I realized that when I was 16, I did a lot of dumb stuff as well. So I mean, I think a lot of times it's maybe it's also for us understanding, what discipleship is and having maybe a healthy approach to discipleship. That, you know, we hear the cliches, but discipleship is really a journey, and everyone's on a journey of discipleship as well. And let's shift it a little bit to talk about how do you think we can build young people who are passionate about God, who know the Word of God and who are passionate about it as well. And I think this is one of the big questions that was in the survey, where people ask, like, how do we get young people to own their faith, right? Not only how do we get them to own their faith, but how do we get them to get excited about their faith? So what do you guys think?
Excited about the faith.
Maybe we can start with Isaac.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a big question. I feel like, well, personally for me, I'm very intentional in terms of, I think we can always say these things off the pulpit, right? Like, guys, we want you to rise up. We want to champion you. You know, we believe that you should do all these things. But I think for sometimes also you realize that, hey, even though we say these like 20, 30, 200 times, sometimes they don't seem to rise up or step into it. And I think it's important for us in leadership also to see how, not just how do we say things off the pulpit, but how do we lead, how do we build infrastructure, how do we do programs that really give the people the ability to rise up and to live authentically and to really like pursue God like wholeheartedly, you know, and I feel like that's incredibly important. And I feel one of the things that I used to always say, right, hey guys, we should all be on the same page. We should all be on the same page. And it's a great slogan and motto, but I realized like every individual is so different, you know, and so how do we also not really just look at them as an army of people to raise up, but as individuals, how do we see what your calling is and your assignment is, and really walk with you through the journey to raise you up into that place where the Lord has called you to, you know? And so, I think
it's really good.
It's a multi-approach.
I think one of the most helpful things is to be able to give young people something they're proud of. And so we're gonna do youth ministry, whether it's a small group or a service, whatever that is, whether it's a graphic or a promo or a video or teaching material, you want to give them something that they're genuinely proud of. I mean, let's be real, we've all been in a service, maybe you haven't, but we've all been in a service where you're like cringe. Or like, oh man, I wish I didn't bring my friend today. Like next week would have been fine, the week before would have been fine, but he's leading worship today. Oh, maybe not. You know? But the reality is, what happens then is, in those experiences, they're actually embarrassed to be there, and they're definitely embarrassed to bring someone with them. So it's kind of hard to be excited about something that you're actually deep down inside embarrassed about. And the reality is, for church kids, their threshold is really high. Like church kids can sit through a lot. And still just show up next week again. But the reality is, in the generation we live in today, one, an unbeliever would, if it's lame, it's lame. They'll just, I'm not coming back, you know. But also, a young person, an average young person, is so used to a standard of excellence. What they watch online, what they eat, where they go, where they hang out, the stuff they wear, they're used to getting excellence. And when we come in as a youth ministry, in a sense, you don't want to have to compete with those things, but at the same time, you also don't want to give them something that they know, okay, you could have tried a bit harder. You know, that's where authenticity comes in as well, where it's like, hey, if I want to do something for you and I really care about you, I'm going to give it everything. We're going to make sure that this is well done, this is well produced, this is put together. And we're not just talking about like, you know, big services or lights or small, it's not about that. But whatever it is, whether it's small groups, whether it's a one-to-one conversation, that it is well done and they're proud of it. And so what that means is, as young people, as you give them something they're proud of, they're naturally going to get excited about their faith. They're naturally going to get excited about their church. They're naturally going to want to bring people. But someone's got to first do the labor of giving them something they're proud of. One of the ways, it goes both ways. One of the ways that you give young people something they're proud of too is to get them involved in it. Because when I'm invested and when I got my hands in there, I'm naturally a bit more like, okay, I want you to come and see what I've done. But it goes both ways. Having people who are willing to put the work in to give them something they're proud of, but also not being afraid to involve them so that they're invested. They'll be proud of what comes out.
I think for me, the angle actually may not be passion per se, but I think the focus may be on maturity. Because we always paint a picture of passion, and the youth think, I can't be like that. I can't be passionate like Isaac. I can't be passionate like Hern. Because we project passion because we have a journey we have taken. But I think what we can encourage for the youth to do is a maturing of their faith.
Yeah.
So you are level 1, you just go up to level 2. From level 2, you go up to level 3. You can hit level 5 or 6 immediately.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage you to start maturing. So you may have like zero passion now,
Yeah.
but because you put things right, you can begin to grow in your passion for God.
Yeah.
And encourage them that journey is a journey that we take
Yeah.
with God.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things that they have in the world for them now is like immediate, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want information, I get it immediate. I want my results, I work hard and I should get it.
Yeah.
If I don't, I question. But with God, it's really a relationship. It's a journey that you take.
Yeah.
But what we can do as youth ministry is to provide the space for authenticity and yet moments for encounter.
Yeah.
I think in the way we do worship, in the way we
Yeah.
have our study groups, we believe that encounter is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And through the encounter, passion is generated and maturity is achieved over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And so we tell the youth it's a journey that you take, but let me journey with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, picking on the what you say about journey as well. I mean, if I go to a bit more practical side of stuff, I think one of the things that really helps is to really lay out a roadmap for them, in a lack of better words, but letting them know what are some next steps they can take. You know, never let them settle in a place. So like, you know, never let them settle in a place where they're just like, okay, I'm happy with where I am. But kind of laying out, okay, here's the next step that you take. Now that you're in church, for example, maybe you should join a small group. Now that you're in a small group, maybe you should consider serving and taking ownership of the service. Hey, you've been in church for a while, you know, how are you growing? And maybe what's the next step that you can take? So they always know that there's always a next step to take, and they're always growing that journey as well.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that, off the top of my mind as well, that my observation of myself and also just going around the place is that I think how do we get them to be passionate about God is I think really the gospel is a message in itself that pulls passion out of us. You know, the gospel is such a powerful message as well that I think sometimes if we learn to represent it rightly and preach the gospel and teach the gospel, that would in a way get people passionate about what they believe in as well. I think many times, and I'm guilty of it when I was growing up as well, is that many times I preach good examples, I preach good advice, I preach good recommendations, right? I tell you how behavior modification should look like, how you should walk as a Christian, but I don't tell them about the gospel motivation behind it. I don't tell them like, hey, this is what Christ has done for you, you know, this is what God has done for you, and this is why we do it. And so because of that, I've realized along the way, you know, I preach so much behavioral modification that is, you should act like this, you should walk like this, the expectation of it, but they don't catch the why behind it. And sometimes the why is the important thing, like, hey, this is why you do it, because the gospel. And I think a lot of times when we do it rightly, you know, and we do it accurately as well, that begins to do something in the lives of them as well. Like I look at my own life,
definitely.
and I feel like I'm most excited when as I was growing up and the gospel was being taught to me and preached to me. That was like, oh man, you know, it just gets me more and more excited.
Yeah.
And the nature of the kingdom of God is that
It's exciting.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, the kingdom of God is an exciting
Crazy.
journey. It's a crazy adventure that we're on as well. And I think we just have to represent.
I just want to add on to that because when you help them see the power of the gospel
Yeah.
lived out in everyday life
Yeah.
and the relevancy of the power of the gospel to transform
Yes.
in every facet
Absolutely.
of their lives. I
Yes.
don't just mean their spiritual lives. I
Absolutely.
mean the power of the gospel impacting their social life,
Yeah.
their thought patterns, how their worldview for that matter, how they view the world.
Yeah.
And allow them to see that there's a much larger spiritual dimension
Yeah.
Absolutely.
to the physical dimension.
Yeah.
I think that excites the youth where they know that there is an alternative reality, the true
Yeah.
reality,
Yeah.
Christ, the truth, the way, and the life. And there is this life that they can have
Yeah.
beyond the life that they have.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for me, and we help the youth grasp that.
Yeah.
That I think it's passion generating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's giving them a bigger picture. You know, I think young people are very, exactly like what you guys have all said, they're very immediate.
Yeah.
They look at the now, how do I get now satisfaction?
That's right.
Yeah.
But you want to paint them a bigger picture of where we're heading towards, you know, what their life is living is so much bigger as well with that as well. Let's shift the topics a little bit. The other big need that we have in the critical needs that a lot of the people responded to is leadership.
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest cry in terms of, we asked two questions: what are the critical needs of youth ministry? And the second question we asked are, what are some immediate burning needs that people need? And the answer, the overwhelming answer was that we need more leaders. We need more role models. We need more leaders, whether it's in adults or we need to learn how to raise leaders. Someone said that we needed a curriculum of how to raise leaders. So let's talk about how do we develop leaders? How do you guys develop leaders in your churches? How do you guys see this process of developing leaders, and how does it look like for you guys? Maybe Joel, you want to start?
Okay, so I think for us, so the main thing we do in youth ministry, I mean, there's the services and all the activities and whatever, but the main thing for us is small groups. So small groups, cell groups, whatever, connect groups, whatever you call them, life groups. Small groups are the lifeblood of the youth ministry. Small groups are the main thing that we do, and so by virtue of that, you have to have leaders, because no leaders, no small groups. Yeah. And so for us, like what you mentioned earlier, you talked about having a roadmap where it's like, hey, you get saved. Here is a roadmap. Here is a plan for leadership. Now we would believe that everyone can be a leader. Yeah. Now everyone has a different capacity of leadership. Some might be able to lead 5, some may be able to lead 10, some may be able to lead 100, but everyone can be a leader in some way, shape or form. Because the call on a believer is to go into all the world and make disciples, right? Yes. And if you're making a disciple, it means you have influence. Yeah. And just by virtue of that fact that you have influence over someone, you're a leader. So we would try to, as we have that roadmap laid out. Now, of course, you have an ideal, like, hey, if you could complete this within like a year or 2 or 3 or 4, it'd be great. But understanding like what Pastor Raymond was saying today, hey, everyone grows at a different pace, and some people might get there sooner, some people might take longer. But at least there is a plan. Yeah. No matter what, there is a plan. And so one thing is clear for an average young person then, it's that, hey, if I want to be a leader, I know the steps that I need to take. Yeah. And I think we have, just in general, young people have passion, young people have drive, young people have excitement. They are looking for things to put that towards. There is leadership in young people. Yeah. It's just a matter of where it's going to go. Absolutely. It's just a matter of what avenues are open for them to put it in. That's right. And I think as a church then, what we want to do is, as much as possible, open up avenues and opportunity for leadership, no matter how small they may be. Yes. Even if it's just over 1 person, even if it's just over 3 people. Yes. But to open up avenues of leadership and give them opportunities to develop from there. So, I might not give you 50 people on your first day as a leader, but you can do 2. And I mean, even if you did make a mistake, it's not too bad. 2 people. But I think the trouble is sometimes, and I'm guilty of this too, is that we see leadership as like okay, I make you a leader and we're done. Yeah. Like you should be able to do this all by yourself. You don't need any more help when you're just there. But like what you were saying earlier, it is a journey, and even when you become a leader, it's a whole leadership journey of me walking you through 2 people, the 5 people, the 10 people, and us then as pastors and leaders being okay with like, you know what, you're gonna make mistakes. You know what, you might say the wrong thing. You might step on some toes, but I'm okay again to journey with you through that process. I think.
If I can just pick up what Joel was saying, I feel like kind of like what you talk about the roadmap and all that. I feel, first of all, it's important for us to give a vision and direction and purpose. Absolutely. Sometimes we don't see leaders rise up because sometimes, genuinely, our vision may be too big, meaning we get it. Like we look at this vision, we're like, it's awesome. Yeah. But some of the younger people cannot digest that. No. And so are we as leaders able to paint many different sizes of vision so that we see that the younger people that don't rise up, sometimes we're quick to say, look at this generation, very comfortable, they don't want to rise up, they want to step up, right? This generation is not afraid of pain, right? They would pay people to torture their bodies, called gym, right?
45.
They would do all kinds of things to torture themselves to make sure they get what they want. So they're not afraid of pain. No. Pain is not scary where there's purpose. But when there's no purpose, they go, what am I sacrificing for? Why do I want to give up time? But if you give them the purpose and vision, that would be incredible. And I think the other bit, we can pull back what we talked about 10 minutes ago, which is authenticity, which kind of what Joel says. He goes, even if I give you 2, that's okay. If you make mistakes, that's okay. I feel like there are some young people that when they look at their role models, it goes, but you are acing it and you're doing it so well. I would never ever be like you. And we should be able to say, you shouldn't be, we don't want you to, but it's not enough just to say, do you practice a kind of leadership where people feel that it's safe to make mistakes? It's one thing to say off the pulpit, I'm okay if you make mistakes, and it's another thing to create an environment where people feel like they are safe to make mistakes. Then they go, okay, I've got the vision, I don't mind putting in the pain. But sometimes people's fear of pain is not the pain that they'll inflict on themselves, but I feel on other people. Because you have a generation that's very concerned, very compassionate, and I've heard it a lot of times, Isaac, what if I hurt somebody? Isaac, what if I mess up?
That's right.
And when that says to me, sometimes I go, haven't I said already? I told you it's okay already, what? Why are you like that? And then I go, Isaac, within your circle, within your sphere, right, do you create an environment where people feel safe to make mistakes? Because I think the best role model is Jesus and the disciples that are like, right?
Many times, bro.
Yeah, but he continued to love, disciple, pick them out of the water, says, you up, and I think that's important,
I mean, picking up on what you said, that the idea of purpose, I realized, like, for example, I visited a church on Sunday because it was my off day. Not I didn't skip any church or anything, but I visited a church on Sunday, and I realized that one of the things, I was just chatting with one of the young people, and I asked them, like, hey, why are you serving everything? And just talking to him, I realized that the vision and the mandate of the church is so important to get people excited about it as well. And it's translating that vision down to the individual where they feel that this is their vision as well, and not just a church vision, but their vision. And I think that's the purpose that we have to kind of, in some ways, translate down to the next generation. I think this generation is the most empathetic generation. They empathize with everything around them. I look around and you see a lot of these social justice organizations starting, and these are young people, who are starting it. I see more young people who are willing to go in the mission field, to go out there and really give their life to a purpose.
They want to change the world.
They want to change the world. I mean, and they feel like they are able to now as well, because they don't feel like they have to, maybe it's not like the older generation where they have to work hard for that, because they are already in a better place where they can start from a better platform now as well. And so I think if we can tap onto this, purpose and cause is very important. This generation is a passionate generation. They're passionate about stuff. Have you seen some of like the girls, how passionate they are about K-pop? Like, it's crazy. Like, they line up overnight at a post office just to buy one ticket to watch their K-pop stars and everything. But what if we can find a way to channel that into the church, into Christ, into Jesus, and get them passionate about that as well? And I think it's painting that vision for them as well. That's so important. Right.
Absolutely.
And I mean, on the topic of raising leaders as well, I think we always like to say this phrase that the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it.
True.
Right. And so I think developing leaders it makes me ask a question for us, and I don't know how you guys do it. Maybe we'll ask, how do you develop leaders at Faith Methodist Church? But how we develop leaders is we have to actively develop leaders. I don't know if that makes sense. Sometimes we expect it to just drop on our lap and just say, okay, leaders. For me, is when I want to develop a leader, I don't want to ever look for a leader. I want to look for a servant. I look for a servant and I develop them into a leader. I never want to find a leader and develop them to a servant, because it's never going to go right. It's always tougher to try to turn a leader into a servant, and it's so much easier to turn a servant into a leader as well. So I think this is, I remember someone said it over the past 2 weeks, like, you want someone to serve with the heart of a king, but rule with the heart of a servant. And that's kind of what we want to look for and to develop as well. So for me, how I develop leaders is I want to find people who serve. I want to find people who are stacking chairs, who are keeping up the chairs after service.
And actually, that is leadership.
It is.
Servanthood is leadership. And I think we make a big deal out of leadership when actually we really should be emphasizing servanthood. Because the biblical model and the Christian understanding of leader is to serve. And Christ was the first and foremost leader, but he served us. And so we always talk about servant leaders, but how about leading servants?
Yeah, that's good.
How about servants who will lead through their service? And if we start young, and I thank God for my mentors when they're young, who taught me that leadership is really about serving. So you can serve. You don't have to be a leader. And today we talk a lot about functional leaderships. We talk about positional leadership. But everyone is a leader when you begin to serve. You take your area of service, stacking chairs, coming early to do great PowerPoint slides. That's your area of leadership. That's your area of serving. And everyone can serve in small and big ways. So once we set that as a vision, as a purpose of serving and giving our lives to that, then I think the mentoring process is really important to mentor leaders, to mentor servant leaders, leading servants, and showing how to serve with the right attitudes, the right inspiration, the right passions, and of course using their giftings. And these are the developmental stages.
So let's maybe take this a little practical.
Sure.
Let's have each person, what is one thing that you feel we can do to develop leaders, a practical step that you might suggest to people watching right now, whether they're youth pastors, youth directors, youth leaders. And this is not just the top tier leadership in youth pastors. I think even if you're a youth leader, you have a mandate to develop leaders as well, right? Find a small group of guys and develop them. But what do you think is one practical step that you would see that you've done or helped?
So just share from experience and faith, and I'm very thankful for a team of adult leaders who have come into the youth ministry. We call them team leaders, and really they have come in to provide that mentoring journey for our small group leaders. So our small group leaders are young adult leaders, youth leaders. But the adult leaders have come alongside. They actually are very involved in a week-to-week lesson planning. They're really mentoring and developing the youth leaders that we have. It's a structure we have put in place for a couple of years now, and it's working wonderfully in my view. It's just a very practical way, a structural way though, but it really provides those relationships where our youth leaders feel that they can always turn to someone older, more experienced, to really help them develop as leaders. And that's just one practical way of doing it, involving the adults. Yeah.
And we're going to touch on that very soon.
Sure. Okay.
Because a lot of questions are coming on how do we do that as well.
Okay.
So keep that thought in mind and get ready to answer.
Okay.
Pastor Joel, what do you think?
I think breaking leadership down to like bite-sized chunks and pieces. So I know what I want from a leader. Hey, there's these like 10 things I want. I'm not gonna ask you to do all 10. Just do one. But it starts from a place of being able to break that rule down. And after I've broken it down, I can give you piece by piece by piece by piece, so that you develop someone who has all those things that you're looking for without trying to instantly go like, hey, you're a leader, here's all the stuff I need you to do. And sometimes those pieces or those opportunities can come in the smallest ways. I remember, Pastor Jeremy will tell this story, but years ago, he would create like, you know what, we literally have one light switch, but I'm going to create a team and a position and a whole leadership structure for that one light switch, so that someone can become a leader, so that someone can lead a team, so that someone can run a roster and a schedule. I mean, for the longest time, we had one button to hit record. But again, there's a team for that. There's a whole structure and leadership for that one, because it's just a small bite-sized thing, but you can use it to raise leaders.
How about you?
So I think what they've said is excellent. It's covered already. I think another aspect I can give a more soft aspect would be, I think really like for me, the way I really coach the leaders is with deep friendship and having them walk with me like wherever I go and whatever we do. I feel like it's important for me to not see them just as an assignment or a project, because they know it as well, and they know that I'm trying to raise them, because leadership requires that heart and that passion. It's not just a skill, and so it's just a reminder for me to really build that friendship, really like walk with them through the journey. They're not always hearing me saying like, okay, this is what is to do, but I take care of their life, and then as they see how I lead them, then they kind of replicate, or they just want to bless as it has been poured into their lives. So I feel like that's a really big aspect that I really focus a lot like on friendship. And so it means to go out and run with them. And so like for example, we'll go running at like the stadium or the reservoir, and then they won't only hear me like shouting in the church, but like when they're running at the reservoir and they tell them like, come on, it's just a little bit more, right? And it's just like these little things that they go, okay, this is kind of what leadership looks like. And I think also it's a great reminder, because for some of these people, right, they never rise to, so you sometimes we pour and pour and pour, and then we go, how come there's no output within the church? But then you'll be surprised how I think it's also important for us as youth ministers and pastors, right, to remember that leadership is also beyond what they do in church. So I remember this really slapped me really hard in my face when one day I went to a school and I was going to go around and run around the track. And I saw one of my youth guys, right, who he's heard leadership stuff, he's been around, but he just never really poured out anything within the church. So I saw him and he was walking quietly around the field. So I was like, oh, what's this guy doing? It was about 4 or 5 p.m. in the sun. So I went up there and said, hey, how are you? And he was not super regular in church, but enough lah, And then he said, because he's the vice cap of the Frisbee team in his school. And on his own, without saying anything, there was no testimony video about him. He didn't tweet about it, didn't Instagram anything about it. But every time before his CCA started, on his own, he would walk around the pitch and pray for his entire team and for the entire day. And he didn't breathe a word to anybody.
Yeah.
And I go like, that is leadership.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes we may not see the output, but that's okay. So we just keep loving them and building that friendship and all that. And then as we teach them, sometimes they may not do what we tell them to do, but they might take it in their own world and realm and lead as they desire.
You let them catch the heart and they'll run with their heart as well. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think my advice, I think to myself as well, is to just find your circle. You know, find that group of guys that you can pour your life into, and really lay down and pour everything into it. You know, as well, and not spread yourself out so wide. But really, for me, it's just finding that how many it is, what's your capacity. If you're a working adult and you're a leader and you only have capacity for 1 or 2, then find that 1 or 2. If you're a youth pastor with a lot of time, then find it 12 or 15. I mean, how many? But exactly what you're saying is just bring them on a journey with you. I always believe that you reproduce who you are. Right, and so for me, it's just helping them spend time with me to catch my heart, to see. And the Bible itself says, "Follow me as I follow Christ." And maybe that's a model for us to say that, hey, let's just go out. So for me, I go when I go out to the gym, for example, I pull one of them with me to the gym, and the same. I know it doesn't look like I go to the gym, but I do. I try my best, guys. But you know, and it's stuff like that. So, and I also do what they want to do. So sometimes, for example, we went fishing, and I went fishing. I have no patience, but I thought I'd go with them because that was 2 hours for me to spend time and chat with them as well.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm going to take it back into some of the questions. By the way, if you have any questions, drop it in the comments below. We are seeing everything. It's being feeded to us as well. And we're going to try to answer some of these questions as well. But one of the big questions that came in is, someone asked, what if there are no older adults stepping up to model for the youth in my church? And another person asked, like, can we also hear from you guys real life examples of involvement from mature folks as well? So I think Pastor Raymond, you talked about it just now, about how Faith has this model where the older adults have stepped in to serve. So how do you guys do that? How do you get them to step in? And what do you suggest to this person that says, what if there are no older adults stepping up?
I think that it's a myth that sometimes we think that there are no adults stepping up. I'm not sure what had really gone on in that particular context, but sometimes you just have to make a call. Yeah. You have to make a call. Yeah. But when you do make a call, you have different kinds of persons applying, and not all are suitable actually. Yeah. And so you need to have a process where you need to be very clear about the criteria you have for an adult mentor or adult leader for that matter. And but I just want to say that sometimes the obsession today is having what we call formal mentors. Like, you are my mentor, I'm your mentee, you know, you're a discipler. It's only one formal mentor. That's actually quite archaic, It's a kind of old-fashioned way of doing mentoring. I think a few of us have occasional mentors. We have different mentors for different things. Agree. So sometimes you may not just stick to one mentor, and the adult should be perfectly okay with that he's not like the only mentor that the youth has, which some may not be.
True.
You know, and so the adult has to be perfectly okay that I mean just contribute one aspect of the life, and that's just the kind of mentoring that you can do and modeling you can do for the particular aspect of that person's life. And that's just one way of getting more adults involved without taking on the formal title and all the formal responsibilities of a chief mentor.
Because sometimes the titles scare people, don't you feel?
Definitely. Yes.
Like, mentor is just such a loaded title that, oh my gosh, like, you know, I have to be like living as a perfect Christian in order to be a mentor. And exactly that. Like,
and
you know,
maybe not a mentor, but like a spiritual friend or someone that you can look up to.
Yeah, I mean, Reverend Tan Suin, I mean, we all know him. Shout out to Pastor Suin, but he champions this idea of spiritual friendships, which I think is a very interesting, like, you know, I'm not a mentor to you, I'm a friend to you. I'm what you call a 2 a.m. friend, someone you can call at 2 a.m. and just talk out what might be going on in your heart as well. But I like that. Like, I mean, sometimes it's about really just making a call, you know, and going to the church and say, hey, we need people to really mentor. Okay, let's not use the word mentor. We need young people. We need people to be friends with young people, and maybe do that as well. But I also think, you know, one of the things is providing platforms for that to happen.
Absolutely. So what kind of platforms, right? The question is, we all know platforms, but what kind? I would suggest more informal, casual kind of platforms. Let's talk about dating, for example. Just off a topic. Maybe something more cooler than that, topic. Then just come and have a few older young adults or even adults come and share experiences, and that's where connection just takes place very naturally.
Yeah.
And we let the adults who come, that some of the younger ones may come and approach you to say, hey, would you journey with me? I've got an issue in BGR and I just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And just avail yourself. Just that. Nothing more. Don't have to be a formal mentor. Just a friend. And these informal platforms actually get the adults involved in a very bite-sized manner. And it allows commitment from the young people in a very bite-sized manner. Yeah. And that, I think, creates more participation and hopefully more involvement and more connections across.
I mean, and for us as well, one of the things that I've realized in my own youth ministry is that recently we did a shift from running a youth service per se, and we began to open up our doors and saying, hey, we're called the Saturday service in a way, and anyone can come in. Adults, we welcome you. This is a home for generations. We were very intentional to do that as well. And we found that was a really incredible platform as well for this cross-generational interaction to happen. And for me, it made me think as well that a lot of times maybe we as churches, we aren't doing enough to create these platforms. You know, we segregate youth ministries into a corner of the church, but we don't do it. I like what Victory Family Center does, where, you know, I've attended your service on a Sunday morning and Sunday evening before, and it's packed with young people, it's packed with older folks as well. And naturally, you put them in the same room, they're going to talk to one another at some stage of time. Maybe not immediately, right? But along the way, it's becoming a norm for young and old to be together. And so maybe, I don't know, what do you think over at Victory Family Center? What are some practices that you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably, like what you're saying, there's like the casual, informal kinds, and there are like formal positions and stuff. But for what you said with like having young people in our main services, I mean, for us, the perspective we would take would be like, hey, look, the youth service is great, the youth service is awesome, we want to get as many young people there as we can, but the win is Sunday morning. So every youth that comes to our youth service probably goes to Sunday morning, and the youth service is an add-on. Because at the end of the day, youth ministry is 5, 6, 7 years. But we want them to be tied into main church, and all our Sunday classes happen at main service. So usually the priority, if a young person can only go to one service, we would say go to Sunday morning. If they could only pick one thing, possibly we would say go to Connect Group. And so what naturally happens though is that I'm sitting in service together with you, we're encountering God together, I pray for you, you pray for me, you're naturally going to connect with people of all different kinds of generations. And not just that, but getting young people involved in serving at the main services. So I'm on the sound desk with someone who's like 15, 20 years old. We're serving together. Okay, we're stacking chairs together. Okay, we're cleaning the stage together. We're building scaffolds together. Naturally, that's going to create platforms and space for conversations and interactions to happen. I mean, sometimes the deepest conversations you have are like, in the middle of the night where you and someone are like trying to build something and we're both tired, and that's when someone just opens up and goes like, hey, I just really need to talk about something. But that was a big that was one of the biggest things that has helped. And definitely one of the things that it does help with is transitions as well. When young people come out from youth ministry, they're already plugged in this Sunday, they're already serving. It's not like a whole new world for them.
Yeah, that's a key thing.
And that has helped so much with transition into young adults in main church. And then for us on the other side too, what we try to do is we do have formal positions, we call them youth ministers, where because we recognize that, hey, look, as much as we're trying to raise young leaders, there is not that we don't believe in young people. I believe in young people. I believe that they can do almost anything. But for a 15-year-old, they might find it difficult to walk their other 15-year-old friend through like a pornography addiction or something. They might find it difficult to sit someone down and counsel them through their broken family. So I still want to raise a young leader, but then can I take that component of a certain type of pastoral care counseling off the young leader so that I'll get an adult to step in to do those parts. So we can release a young leader, but have adults come in to do that. And so we would have formal roles, we call them youth ministers, where like you said, there's an expectation, there's a requirement, you've got to be a youth service, these are the, and adults would come in and help us out with that. So in a sense, it helps a young person too, because hey, my leader's on top of me for like vision and like, hey, let's do this, let's accomplish this. When I've got this other leader that I can go to as well, who is like, who is not on my case all the time for like not submitting something or not doing something, and I can go to them for advice. I can go to them with problems and issues. And on the other end too would be proactivity. So even from the adults end, I think lots of times when it comes to mentoring and stuff, we naturally tend to be reactive. I spot a problem in a young person, let me go talk to them about it. But instead, can we flip it and be proactive? Before you even start having a relationship problem, let's already talk about relationships. I think there will be some things that have helped.
We have quite a few questions here, and we have about 10 minutes left. So let's try to get as much questions as we can. All right, the first question we have, and maybe if any of you can straight away answer this, is someone asked, for youth leaders who have been serving for a long time, how can we encourage them to move beyond what they currently know, i.e. how youth ministry has been done for years, and to prevent burnout as well? So anyone?
Wow, burnout, yeah.
Two things quickly. I feel like just immerse yourself into like play with people. I feel I learn a lot by playing, not by sitting down and doing a survey, fill up a survey monkey form, tell me what you want, because then you formalize it, go and play captain's ball with them, go and cycle with them, go hang out with them, eat supper, because a lot of the fellowship happens after the program, and then after the dinner, after the program, there's supper. Supper's where it's at. If you do that for a few months, you're going to relearn a lot of things. You get closer to them, they're going to be more real with you and tell you what they don't like, and they're going to be honest, and then you're going to pick up some things. And then,
I'll add something to it as well. I like the idea of a conviction versus tradition. That's something that I always ask myself. Am I doing something out of tradition, or am I doing something out of conviction? And I think it's a healthy question for youth leaders, youth pastors, youth directors to ask yourself frequently. Hey, this thing that's happening in our youth ministry, is it a tradition or is it a conviction? Is it something that I've inherited and just keep doing because I did it last year? Or am I really convicted about it? What do I believe about it as well? And so it challenges us to always reevaluate what we're doing, and kind of shifts us out of being settled in a place and thinking this is the way of doing youth ministry, because youth ministry is always adapting and changing as well. So for me, that's the big question that I will constantly evaluate. Every year I'll sit down with our guys and just go, okay, how are we going this year? What needs to change? How do we need to work on? What do we have to do to grow and move forward? What's the next step for our youth ministry as well? Any?
Awesome.
I think for youth leaders, we were to help them develop the principles of rest, Sabbath, and make sure that they fill the tanks. And so there could be a structural issue. For example, you really place a lot on the small group leader, just too much he has to tank on. He has to tank just to handle that role. That probably is a structural issue. We need to look at it, change the way we think, bring in the adults to assist, to help out, so that the youth leader isn't overburdened with all these tasks that he has to do. But primarily it's about helping the youth leader develop principles of being secure in God. It's not what you do, it's really who you are fundamentally. It's not dependent on your ministry per se, it's the person that you are. These are just fundamental principles of leadership that we need to help our leaders develop. Retreats will help, hangouts will really be good. These are things we can do to help them stay charged and ready.
Okay, let's shift to another question. Someone asked, how do we as youth leaders or youth pastors champion worship in the youth ministries? And not just worship, I think maybe as a whole, the worship culture of the youth ministry and the youth worship. So what do you guys think? Joel, why don't you answer this? And Edge, by the way, has they've come out with albums, so I think you're like the guy to answer this.
Great songs.
Great songs. Check it out, Edge Worship. I think
with the worship culture, basically with any culture, you need leaders to drive it, you need leaders to replicate it, and it's something that you've got to constantly reinforce. The moment you stop reinforcing a culture, it actually probably starts backsliding. So for us, just naturally time-wise in the service, you give time to it, like 25, 30 minutes, whatever that may be. Sometimes we do shorter, 20, 25, but at the end of the day, for us, it was always about in the service, creating moments of encounter and worship. So it's not just about doing the songs or doing what's the latest songs. We're creating moments of encounter. When young people see the power of worship, when young people experience that change or miracle takes place when they worship, it shows them the importance and the bigness of it. Definitely with any kind of culture, you've got to do teaching. So we will teach. Maybe every year or every 2 years, we will do a worship series, 3-4 weeks, just teaching on worship. What does the Bible say? Why do we worship? Why do we clap? Why do we jump? Why do we sing? Biblical teaching on worship. But then one of the other things too is that teaching them in their personal lives like it's
Awesome.
personal worship, because everything that happens on a stage or on a Saturday is an overflow of your daily
Awesome.
life of worship.
Awesome. Wow.
And that will come through one-on-one discipleship.
It's good.
Just very quickly, what do you mean by moments of encounter? I mean, can you break that down for us? What does it look like on a practical sense?
So for us, when I sit down with a worship leader, the first thing I ask them is, what are you expecting God to do today? Or any member of the worship team, if they walk in, they need to have an expectation. What's God going to do today? What's going to happen? Now, yes, worship is for the purpose of lifting God up. Worship is for God. But as a happy byproduct of us exalting Him and worshiping Him, His presence shows up and stuff just happens in God's presence, right?
Yeah.
It just does.
So just from a technical point of view, right?
Yeah.
Don't bash through songs. Don't
Yes.
like
Yes.
finish the song and then intro straight. Boom.
Yes.
The drums come in.
Preach.
Yeah.
Come on, just linger a little bit more.
Yes.
Take time.
Let the words speak to you. Take your time. You don't have to do like a set of 4 songs.
Yes.
Sometimes
Exactly.
just 2 or 3 songs. Just taking time with it. It's good. That's developing culture where you don't rush through, because we tend to rush, right? We're Russians, right? We're rushing from place to place. So you know what, guys? Just not rush through worship.
Just take time.
Take time. You
Yeah.
don't have to do 4 songs all the time.
Yeah.
And that's just culture.
And sometimes even planning the time.
Planning a time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like say, hey, between these songs, let's actually take the time.
Take a time. Yeah.
Agree.
Before we go back to that bridge again, let's create space.
Yeah, create space
Let's
to
create space.
let the words reflect,
Yeah.
respond. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isaac, the nation's worship leader.
Agree. But everything they said, 100% amen, Selah, yes, hallelujah.
Okay. Maybe we'll do one more question. Do we have time? Yes? Let's do one more question. Someone asked, how do we encourage the current generation of youths to stay and give to the next generation? I think, okay, let me rephrase the question. How do we give youth a generational mindset?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. How do we teach youth a generational mindset? That's a very packed question.
To stay for the next generation, right? You're saying?
How do you teach them to give to the next generation and not just be about themselves, I think? I think that's what this person's asking.
Okay.
Let me maybe
go ahead.
try to answer it. I think it's modeling it,
Yeah.
helping them. I think you reproduce who you are.
Yeah,
And if they
it's true.
see that you have a generational mindset, I think they'll catch it and they know
Yes.
that they serve the generations as well. Like I know, for example, Pastor Jeremy from Victory Family Center, he always has this idea where he always ends his email with this thing
this generation.
for this generation. And so for me, it's just a little thing that actually shows like this is what a generational mindset is, and naturally people catch it as well. And I think they have that mindset as well. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think the fundamental principle of paying it forward is something that we need to teach our youth. Sense of gratitude for what you have received from a previous generation. And that expression of the gratitude is to sow to the next.
Yes.
And that is something that I believe is fundamental, which we can model, but we can also teach. And we can always encourage.
Just that teaching to that, you know what, it's not always about you. Right? Like
yes.
we teach young here, the older serves the younger. Like, hey, when you're 17, when you're 18, youth ministry is not about you. It's about the 15-year-old. So it's always just reinforcing the teaching, stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember actually, who was it? One of the churches that I sat in the teaching of churches, and they're saying how, you know, when you're running a Christmas service, for example, when you're celebrating Christmas isn't about the older guys, about the younger guys. It's about letting them have that good experience of what Christmas is. So even the same when I go on a holiday, right, with our family, I have a younger sister who's 10 years younger than me. You know, when she was a little young, we'll go to parks, and I don't like playgrounds. Like, you know, look at my size. Like, it's just not meant to be as well. But we still went there because it's about giving. Enriching the younger people, the experience of the younger guys. And I think this is something we have to teach people, and it has to be taught. You know, you cannot keep quiet about it. I think we have to openly teach people about it and let them know about it as well. Hey, one last question, and this was actually a question that we asked in a survey. And I'm sorry if we can't manage to go through all the questions, but maybe we'll do a conversation again or something like that, or maybe we'll try to answer it on the comments later. Isaac will do it for us.
Yeah.
But
Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah, go Isaac.
Or we all go off and have a coffee.
Yeah. But one of the big questions that we asked in the survey, and I think this is a very important question because it really opened up a lot of sharing as well, is that what are some things you wish your senior pastor knew about youth ministry? And for you, because you are very unique, both in the eyes of God, but also in this panel, right? Is that you're very unique in that you have been both in the position of a youth pastor and now a senior pastor. So what do you also wish, maybe you can answer it on both sides, what do you wish back then, your senior pastor, you knew about youth ministry? And what do you wish now you knew about, youth pastors would know about you?
Okay. I'd like to hear from the guys first. What do you hope that your
let's
guys
start with this guy here. A good arrow to that side. Come on, Isaac.
We've been starting on this side for a lot.
What we wish senior pastors would
know about youth ministry. Or campus ministry.
I think it's important to know that the things move and change really, really fast. And I think there needs to be continuous support, continuous time, continuous encouragement, continuous patience for the youth leaders and youth pastors to navigate through this place. Because even if we did it well for the last 2 years, things shift really fast and we got to figure it out again. I think for youth pastors as well and for youth leaders, that the pace is really, really important. And I think we're living in a space where there's a lot of demands, a lot of requests. So how do we continue to support, continue to champion, continue to live in this tension of giving space, but yet also not from a place of like, okay, you go and do it and I leave it, you know? And I think that's important. Yeah.
Really good.
I'll answer next. I think what I wish, and I think my senior pastor does know this as well, but what I wish is that they will also know is that youth ministry is a subset of the church. We are not the church. We don't have to be the church. That's not our calling as well. So I wish that we are a subset of the church, and how this breaks down is that whatever happens in the church trickles down to us. You know. So I give the example, like a seed can have all the potential in the world, right, to bear fruit, but it can only flourish in the right environments as well. So I think the senior pastor has to know that what he expects of us, in a way, the environment is very important, that he creates in the whole church as well. If you want the youth to have a generational and to really grow and everything like that, the senior pastor has to help us in a way to build a generational culture where we do help to invest in the generations as well. And I think it goes the other way as well. You know, my hope is for youth pastors will also know that you are a subset of the local church.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
You are not running your own vision. You're not building your own kingdom.
Absolutely.
Your job is to serve the vision, to champion the vision. Your job is to love the church and to help the young people love the church as well. And so it works both ways for me, and I think that's necessary as well.
Come on.
I think for my wife and I, we have the incredible privilege of serving under Pastor Jeremy, and even before that, Pastor Danny, who's now Pastor Gabriel, who they just have so much vision for generations. And Pastor Jeremy was the youth pastor for 16 years. So many of the things that we're talking about, I wish my senior pastor knew what he knew for 16 years. So, so we're all good for that. But I do want to pick on what you said about that whole how youth ministry is a subset of the church, because really we're given young people to steward. It's a privilege that our senior pastors have given us, and we need to remember that whatever we do as a youth ministry, we should be building the vision of the house. So even though sometimes we may not understand things, sometimes we may not like certain things, but if that's the vision of the house, if that's the way our senior pastor wants it done, then that's the way we're going to do it. Because blessing comes not on the best methods, blessing comes on submission. And when I'm submitted and walking under authority, God will take something that may not even be the flashiest or the best or the most efficient way of doing things, but it will become the best way of doing things because I'm walking under submission. And I will also say, I said this to you earlier, but I can't even begin to imagine the amount of things that are on your mind. And the amount of things that you've got to deal with. I mean, youth ministry is a lot, but the church is like
bigger.
A lot, you know. And as a youth pastor, for me to then treat it as, you know what, it's not, hey, I need you to see my thing, I need you to see my thing, but what can I take off you so that you have space to dream for young people? What can I take off you so that you can see what you want for the young people?
Agree.
So, I mean, I've currently where I am now, there are really a lot more things to do, honestly. And I do apologize that I can't give the full attention of obviously to one ministry. Because there's so many things to think about. But yet at the same time, I do apologize for senior pastors if we have just let it go to a youth pastor without really adequately supporting them. I think as senior pastors, we need to put in place structures. We need to put in place systems to empower and enable the youth ministry to thrive. And that takes a lot of conversations. That takes a lot of confession that I don't even know how to begin.
Yeah.
And youth pastors, please feel free to tell your senior pastor, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Because that vulnerability, that honesty would really help to get conversations going.
Agree.
Otherwise, I assume you know, you assume I know, but actually the assumption is not really true. Let's struggle together. Let's be victorious together. Let's move on. Let's really wrestle this together.
Yeah.
And take one step at a time.
Yeah.
And I think that would be great. Yeah.
And I think it's exactly that. Like, you know, if you're a youth pastor and you're frustrated with the church, I think open the communication with the senior pastor. Talk to them. Don't keep it in. You know, talk to them and go to the office, or maybe even for like schedule a monthly 2-hour coffee together and just share it together. I think that's healthy for the church and for your young people as well.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's basically what I mean.
And actually, from a PIC senior pastor point of view, I do really want to know.
Yeah.
It would be great if you schedule that appointment and just have a chat. So,
because youth are the leaders of both tomorrow and today,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
You want to have like...
If you think 20 years down the road, some of your leaders now, your youth leaders, they're going to be leaders of the church. And can I also say to youth leaders, sometimes the best way to bring about change is to be part of the system.
Exactly.
So don't run away from the system. You got a system in your church.
Yes.
It's not
So
the perfect
good.
system.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you're willing to give yourself for a generation, it means getting involved.
Absolutely.
It means being part and working with the adults. Understanding them, they understanding you. And then that's how you effect change. Yeah.
You can't change it from the outside. You got to go
Absolutely.
You got to
go inside.
and
you got to gain the trust.
That's right.
You got to gain the ability to speak to people and everything like
Absolutely.
that.
And that takes time. It takes a journey as well.
Agree.
Any last words, guys? No? any encouragement? Maybe do we have everyone just
Can
give
I just say that, you know, you will reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And when you sow your heart and your passion for this generation and the next, trust me, there will be a fruit that you do not see immediately.
Yeah.
There will be a fruit that you do not see immediately. I was mentored by someone when I was growing up, and I had a chance to mentor his son for a season of time.
Wow.
And I mentored someone in the youth ministry, and that person had a chance to mentor my son. Not arranged, divine.
Yeah.
But I really see God's hand in this.
Yeah.
And I want to just encourage all of us to press on. Press on. Yeah.
So since he gave an inspirational word, all of us.
Come on, guys.
Pressure. Joel next.
I'll just say, hey, remember youth ministry is a long game. That the win in youth ministry is not a packed out hall or great numbers. The win in youth ministry is 10, 15, 20 years later, young people are serving Jesus, their families are in church, they're plugged in, their kids are serving. That's the win in youth ministry. And anything you can do to move someone just a little bit along on that long game, that's a win.
Agree. Yeah, I feel like it's important to fix your eyes, as Hebrews 12 says, fix your eyes on Jesus and really run with endurance. Sometimes if you don't feel it, you don't feel the zeal and the passion, that's okay. Because it's important to run with endurance, fix your eyes, and just really says, Lord, this is my heart, this is my passion. Make time for the secret place. Make sure there's no excuse to go, but there's so many things to do. Remember that your ministry is unto the Lord, and to really make time so that you can grow and you're well fed and you are safe and secure in your leadership with the Lord. And I think just that last bit, which is, I think especially in youth ministry today, because of so many optics and so many eyeballs, so much Instagram and all these different things, there's always a need or pressure to quickly output a certain look of a youth ministry. I gotta have this amount of numbers, I gotta have this kind of vibe or this kind of design, and that can be a deep distraction in really long-term discipleship. So you do all these different things to quickly produce a look that you are doing good youth ministry, but you're actually not discipling well. And I think just remember, more than the likes and more than someone going, wow, your youth ministry looks awesome, we work towards the ultimate goal that we'll meet with the Lord to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And that's important in discipleship.
And for me, it's just letting you know that you're not alone. You know, there's an entire community out there. This whole thing is called Collab2Reach, and there is a community, there's collaboration, and I think that at any point of time you feel that you're alone in this journey, know that there are 200, 300 people running the same race as you, and we're out there. You just have to connect with us, drop us a comment, or get in touch with crew. And we have an entire community that's running together. We are all of us here. We know each other as friends, but we're more than just. It's more than just partners in ministry. We're all friends, and we know that we can tap on someone and text to someone if we need help. You know, and I think that's the most important thing that you need to know, that at any point of time you feel alone, that there is a community out there. Just reach out to us, all of us. We would love to get to know. We'd love to connect. This is not about a kingdom. It is about the kingdom, and that's really our heart for this whole thing as well. So we're gonna end here, and we want to thank all our panelists, all of them for making time this morning.
Glad to be here.
It's great that you could hang out with us as well. You could hang out with us on Facebook and Instagram, on YouTube. And we want to thank you. You know, if you have any comments, leave the comments below. We tried our best to answer all the questions, and maybe we will try to do something to answer some of the other questions. If not, I don't know, Isaac will do it all or something like that. Sorry? Oh, I'm supposed to look at my phone. I'm sorry.
So subtle, bro. So subtle.
Yes, I'm supposed to point you guys, and so a couple of announcements. I'm so sorry, man.
This is youth ministry.
It is. It's messy.
This is youth ministry, guys.
Okay, let's pretend that never happened. All right, let's start again.
Edit that out from me.
Yeah, edit it out. Cut. Okay, restart. We have a couple of announcements for you as well on that note. And you know, this is just following on what I said about community as well and collaboration. Is that we have a few things coming up. For example, coming up the first announcement that we have is there's going to be another live conversation, and this is going to be a heart-to-heart talk happening on the 13th March at 9 p.m. And it's two incredible guys. You got Edric, who is the founder of Thirst, and you got Joseph Chen, who is a YWAM. He's the director of YWAM in Singapore, and it's going to be an amazing conversation. They're going to have a heart-to-heart talk about how can the gospel really transform my life, and how do I live out faith radically. So this is especially for young people. If you have your youth, why not you get your youth together, send this link to them and say, hey, just log on and have a listen to it as well. You know, maybe on Friday nights we do small group. Is this a Friday night? It is, right? 13? Friday night. Friday night is you have small groups or something, say, hey, why not let's log in together as a small groups and let's watch this together. And not only after you hear it, let's talk it out together. Let's talk about how we can live out our faith together. So this is the first thing that you want to take note of. Make sure you jump on it. The second thing is that we have more conversations coming up for youth pastors, youth leaders, youth directors, and anyone else, right? And so there are some other conversations that's happening. This one's going to be virtual, but the future ones are going to be some face-to-face conversations as well. And it's got really, really great topics coming up as well. You can go to crew.sg/collab2reach. Once more, crew.sg/collab2reach. I'm going to get the crew team to put it on the comments below, somewhere there, right? And they're going to put it there in the comments, and you can click on it and check out some of the topics. I've seen some of the topics. There. Some of the topics that I've seen some of the topics, and it's incredible. I mean, some of you guys have put comments about mental health, and there's going to be an incredible conversation about mental health with an entire team of mental health experts and youth psychologists as well. You know, there's going to be people talking about a theology of youth ministry. You got someone from RZIM talking about evangelism and apologetics. So they've covered a spectrum of topics, and so make sure you guys go check it out, sign up for it. This is also where you get to meet the community. You get to meet friends, you get to meet other people in the same position as you, get connected with each other, you know, create friendships, build this community. Remember, it's about the kingdom and not just a kingdom as well. So once again, we want to thank you for joining us. Once more, hit us up on Facebook, leave a comment below, let us know what spoke to you over there. Let us know what spoke to you, and if you have any other questions, you know, put it there, and maybe we'll try to answer it along the way as well. But thank you once again for joining us, and thank you for joining us as well. We'll see you around.
See you around.